So anyway, do you have any other cool favorites of the night that you'd like to go over?
For the debate last night, there's a couple moments. What moment stood out to you last night for the debate?
Okay, besides the obvious, I bought them. Besides the horribleness of the moderators, I thought it was actually very endearing and funny when Joe Biden says, "Wait, why am I stopping? Nobody else is stopping." That was actually a very human moment that I thought was very funny. And I mean, as much as I think he's kind of sold out and so on and so forth, there's parts of me that like some things about Joe Biden. He is a kind of charismatically funny retail boomer politician every once in a while. And that's a moment that came through that I actually thought was really positive when Joe Biden was like, wait, nobody else stops. Why am I stopping? You know, I thought that was just really, really funny. Oh gosh, this is a really bad night if I can't think of something else. Actually, no, that's not true. Remember how I always said that I've enjoyed the Bloomberg candidacy because now the mask is coming off? We used to hide the fact that millionaires and billionaires would just give these contributions and own these politicians. But now they're just skipping that step of the process, taking off the mask and just running themselves.
Yeah.
I did enjoy seeing the cacophony of insanity when 12 people are trying, not 12 people, but literally 5 people at once are trying to talk over to each other, and the resorting to just such pettiness because you're literally seeing that none of them are grown adults. They've been spoiled by 40 years. The past 30 years or 40 years of Democrat politics have really spoiled those who are Democrats in power, because you've been able to just kind of point across the aisle and say racist, point across the aisle and say sexist, point across the aisle and say X, Y, or Z thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's been a weird game of not, I'm better for these reasons, but he's worse for those reasons. It's negative partisanship. This has been documented and scientifically surveyed and corroborated in multiple studies. And the only problem with negative partisanship is when your movement is against somebody else, you don't actually have a movement, but an anti-movement. You don't have an idea, but an anti-idea. And that's very difficult to speak about in a substantive way. So it was actually the reason why you didn't like it and you say we're all the losers is because I can't think, Cody, of a substantive argument that was had, maybe other than people accusing Bernie Sanders of wanting to burn to the ground 160 million people's private health insurance.
Well, but these debates aren't for a substantive argument in the first place. That's not the point. Like,
well, yeah,
ideally,
they are.
No, they aren't. That's ridiculous. No, they're not. That's not why they have these. That's not why the Democrats and the major news organizations coordinate to have these debates. It's not to have legitimate debates televised on TV. It's to give people time to get their stuff in. That's what it is. Hey, get your sound bites in. We're going to give you all TV time. We need ratings. Hey, CBS people tune in to CBS. I actually didn't check on the ratings. They're probably bad. They probably declined big time. This isn't for anything. You're talking about the chaos of the whole thing. This is my favorite clip. This is a 7-second clip that sums up basically the experience of watching the debate last night.
Yeah, like, do any of these people
our teachers?
Pass this on to Major.
Candidates, good evening. Candidates, good evening.
People across this country are being
We're going to
Major,
honor our teachers a little.
Pass this on to Major.
Candidates, good evening. Candidates, good evening.
People across this country.
So, again, I can't even really tell you what was happening in that scene because I don't know. But that was the experience I had watching that debate last night. It was a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of people. There is a couple moments I want to bring up, though, if we're talking about funny moments. Talking about funny moments in Bernie Sanders. Actually, there was a lot of crowd heckling in general, which was weird.
Yeah.
But this particular moment stuck out to me talking about Cuba and Fidel Castro as far as
before you play
Bernie
it, though,
Sanders
Cody,
goes.
I've been reading all kinds of articles this morning where apparently it got out that tickets were over $2,000.
They're between 13 and 36, which is, by the way, though, hold on, fairly, I mean, I can't tell you, I couldn't tell you the average price for every debate. These are exclusive rooms for certain people, and it's like that at every debate. So,
well, and then to be in the debate,
the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, we're in the 10th debate now. It's been like that at all of them.
Yeah, so to be at this debate, you had to be coughing up $1,300 to $3,600, and it wasn't even considered a ticket. You were a sponsor of the debate. So, well, who's going to have money to sponsor this debate? It's going to be generally Bloomberg folks, Steyer folks.
That's not true.
Wealthy donors.
That's not
Well,
true.
come on. Bernie wasn't out there dumping
Dude,
cash into
every one of these
sponsorships.
candidates has literally thousands of wealthy donors across the country. Everyone. Probably tens to hundreds. Every one of them.
So I don't think that
Like $17.50 isn't cheap, but guess what? This isn't a Laker game you're going to 9 times this season.
Yeah.
This is the debate in your home state you're going to once.
Yeah, so-
the tickets would have to be expensive, or
No.
else first come first serve madness because everyone wants to be there.
Yeah, no, I get that. And what's interesting is I was reading a lot of progressive outlets this morning, and Crystal Ball on the Hill was saying that, it's obvious, we don't have data to prove it, but it's obvious that Bloomberg bought all the seats. Well, just because your boy Bernie Sanders is getting booed doesn't mean that somebody's cheated. Maybe he just has bad ideas.
Because also it's important to keep in mind this. That's not the only way in. Every single candidate is given an allotted amount of tickets they get to give out. Now, guess who those tickets go to? Generally speaking, wealthy donors.
Yeah, I was about to say, usually
influential
donors first. Yeah.
People who've paid for them. But that's
Yeah.
what I mean. It's like it's not like you literally can't get in the door if you don't give $3,000 to the DNC. It's like the candidates have tickets to distribute to people. There's individual donors that there's people who have donated $2,600 to these candidates already. It isn't like the only way in the door is a $1,500 ticket you have to buy. It's not like that. I'm not defending it being expensive to get into debates, but at the same time, they don't have these debates in football stadiums.
Yeah.
They seat, maybe 1,000, not even a couple hundred people in these buildings, right? These debate halls, because they don't want to have it, the logistics of having it at, the Coliseum with 100,000 people in the building. So they kind of have to find some way to limit the seats. So they give candidates certain amounts and then say, hey, if you want to give us $3,000, I guess we'll let you in. But I mean, at a certain point, we have to close the doors. It's just, you can't have everyone in. Because by the way, these debates are televised live, so everyone can watch them. That's the other thing.
Yeah, so I amend my original response that I couldn't think of another moment that I really liked. I actually really liked it when Bernie Sanders got booed, not because Bernie Sanders was getting booed, but because his emotional reaction was so intense. Remember, he was like, "What? Really?"
Well,
And he was like, in 2 or 3 times, he was like, "Wait, you can't boo me. It's usually my people booing you. Wait, I don't get booed." You could definitely tell it caught him off guard to be booed that. It caught him off guard to be booed like that.
I think what was more telling is
He's an entitled politician.
He was. Okay, there we go. You got it in.
Yes.
No,
Zing, zing,
I
zing,
think
zing,
the
zing.
bigger thing is he was the only candidate. And I'll run a clip for you really quickly. It's a short clip that I have pulled here. But he was the only candidate that directly engaged with the hecklers, which is weird.
That Cuba made progress on education. Yes, I think. Really? Really?
Yes,
Literacy
because there's no
programs
comparing
are bad.
those two
What
continents
Barack
here.
Obama
What Barack
said
Obama
is
was
they
But it was the most interesting part of the clip to me, though, was that this was the only time of the night, as far as I remember, maybe I'm wrong, it was one of few if there was multiple, because there was boos from the crowd all night, but it was one of the few times, and again, boos from the crowd's kind of one funny way of putting it. It was more like a few individuals booed, but there wasn't cheers to drown them out either.
So, Cody.
But sorry, what I want to get to is,
Okay.
what's really interesting is he was the only candidate all night to directly to the crowd comment on the reaction he was getting from them. Most people just kind of say, well, moving on. But he was the only one that stopped and was looking. I mean, he was basically speaking to audience members at that point. That was kind of interesting and telling. I don't know if it means he's frustrated. Or
Well,
if he was
telling
just
of what?
more-
What is it telling
Like I said,
of?
I don't know if it meant he was flustered and frustrated, or that's just more of his style, where he will say, really, why are you booing me? Whereas Warren wouldn't. I don't know. Also, there was times where it was confusing who was getting booed, so it would be harder for someone to address the crowd, because there was multiple times where I'm like, I don't even know what's being booed at this moment. Multiple people are talking over each other about different ideas, and there's boos. Are they booing because multiple people are talking over each other? Are they booing because they don't like the candidate? Are they booing sometimes someone will be like, we need to get rid of X, and they'll boo the X you were talking about? I had no idea what was getting booed half the time, so I think one of the few times Bernie could realize, I'm the only one speaking, and they booed what I said, they must be booing me. That's my theory.
So can you play it one more time, because I also have another theory.
Really?
Yes, because
Literacy
there's no
programs are
comparing
bad.
those two
What
continents
Barack
here.
Obama
What Barack
said
Obama
is
was
they
doing
made
was open-
great
So watch this
progress.
very beginning
that
really
Cuba
fast.
made progress on education. Yes, I think. Really? Really?
Okay,
Yes,
so
because
look
there's
at that.
no
Okay, so you can
comparing
pause it
that.
now. For me, it's very difficult to believe him when he says, I'm going to condemn the bad parts of communism, you know, the authoritarianism, the slaughtering of the dissidents, the, you know, restrictions on people that disagree with me and the destruction of their family and their lives and their property. And we're just going to focus on the good parts. When you're the only person that responds directly to hecklers by saying, really? I could totally see a dictator, you know, I could totally see a dictator being like, really? Did you just process? Take him away. Take him away. Like, that really is only one emotional step away from take him away. You know, where does he live? Gestapo, go pick him up. You know what I'm saying? His emotional engagement and absolute intolerance, it's obvious, of even just one person booing him in the audience does not really convince me that he doesn't understand his opposition. He's the one that says Republicans will be attracted to a $15 minimum wage. He doesn't understand them. He absolutely loathes them, and he's not here to get along. And if you're none of those three things, what are you? You're there to win and beat and conquer. I mean, there's either persuasion or there's conquest. There's only really two ways of getting somebody to do what you want them to do. And by his behavior on the debate stage, it is obvious he is not interested in persuasion. You know what I'm saying? He'll try it, you know, a little bit. He's interested in conquest. That's the fundamental difference between capitalism and communism. One's conquest, one is persuasion through voluntary interactions. You know what I'm saying? So I think that one right there, subconsciously on people, makes him not dig Bernie Sanders. I don't know. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. Cody's just like,
Dude, you got to give me those drugs. Whatever drugs you're taking in the morning, I got to get on them, man. I have no idea what anything you just said means. Bernie Sanders is an authoritarian because he responded to hecklers. I guess. I thought it was just a moment. It was one of the
far the most thin
It was
skin.
one of the few moments in the debate where it was clear what was being booed and why. And then he happened to just look at the crowd and go, really? Because also, remember, like I said, it wasn't like one of those things where it was like just this noise from the crowd. It was like three individuals. He was probably looking at the crowd when someone stood up and went boo, and he looked at it and was like, really? Why are you booing me? Like, I don't like Bernie. I'm not even defending it here. I'm just saying I'm not going to psychoanalyze Bernie Sanders. I just thought it was a moment where someone from the crowd said something and he just reacted. Like, there was other moments where the candidate's reaction was confusion because they were booing seemingly. I'll play one. Hold on one second. I actually clipped one last night. I want to show you guys what I'm talking about. Where I did not know who was being booed or why or what. Because
your clip game was on point last night.
Well, it's just easier to store them this way. Otherwise, I lose them and forget.
While he's pulling that up,
there's so many times where I like something on Twitter and then I don't know what happens. I go back later to find it and it's just been unliked, I guess. But we're getting to our favorite moments of the debate. One more of my favorite moments of the debate, really quickly before this, was at the very end of the debate when one of the hosts ran over the other host and was like, oh, hold on a minute. We're not leaving yet. We have time for one more question. And then they come back and say, okay, anyway, so wrapping up. I was like, what is this? But let's listen to this. Tell me, seriously, let me know in the comments, who is being booed in this clip? And hey, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I don't know what I'm watching. But tell me if you can figure out who's being booed. Oh, sorry, 1 second about that. Let me close one more thing. But I honestly don't know. And if I had to guess, I would probably say Elizabeth
Well, while
Warren.
you're pulling that up,
I say it's Warren, but tell me what you think.
We're doing that, Senator. Look,
Whoever
We want to get to the issue. We want to get to the issue of
who have
we are
discrimination
doing that, Senator.
claims,
Look,
who have
we want to get to the issue. We want to get to the
The context there, they're talking about releasing women from MDAs at Bloomberg's companies. Are they booing Bloomberg? Are they booing Warren for bringing it up? Are they booing Bloomberg for not having done it? Are they booing the concept of NDAs? Are they booing the discussion? I honestly had no idea. So there's a lot of moments like that where it's like you can't really react to the crowd because the only reaction is what's going on. I almost feel like at that moment there was like competing hecklers. Like the Bloomberg people were booing the Warren people for booing the other candidate. It was just crazy. So like I said, I think the Bernie moment stuck out because it was one of the few moments of the night where it was kind of direct what the crowd was reacting to and how they were reacting. Even though it was like three people. So
yeah. So here's the two things that I'm going to say before we finish. First off, okay, I know I usually do this at the end of the video, but I do have to put in a plug for following us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1 because your clip game yesterday was totally on point. Cody was ratcheting out for like every one cool clip of something funny that Bloomberg said. Like Cody was pumping out 7 or 8 of them, and it was pretty epic. And it was an experience that could only have been found on Problem Solver Politics Twitter. So make sure you follow us on Twitter. And then the second thing I'd like to say is, Cody, I mean, at this point, just like they said, the CBS moderator said in the debate yesterday that, oh, well, these debates are interactive now. And with our partner Twitter, I have a question for you. And they, asked him a Twitter question, right? So, or something along those lines. So anyway, I thought, if we really are now engaging in a world where you pretty much can have interactive debates, why don't we just straight up have a camera on the audience? Because now that boos and heckling are just expected as part of the event, I don't want to see pictures the next morning of the protesters storming the stage that we didn't get to see on camera. I want a straight up audience shot. So when people are booing, you can see who it is. So when the hecklers are trying to break past security and run up there, you can see it. Like if this is going to be political theater, if this is going to be bread and circuses, I want it to be like your one show that you love from the 80s, the Morton Downey Jr. show. Or
before you get too far into this analogy, do you know why that's not possible and will literally never happen?
Why?
If I had to guess, if somebody came into my room and I was in an office and I'm a producer and they say, how do we encourage protesters to protest our
No, we're
events more?
documenting them, not encouraging them,
say,
documenting
how
them.
do I encourage them? I'd probably broadcast every protest nationally on the debates. I would, as producer, hijack the debate coverage to show you protesters. That's why I would encourage protesting at our events.
Hey,
And
they've been
probably
hijacking it
hey,
for years.
That sounds great. I can't wait to do it. No, sorry, man. Again, you got to give me those drugs, whatever you're on this morning, because I have no idea what you're on.
Okay. Anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If you haven't had a chance yet, join the channel. It's a really inexpensive way to make sure that we keep this content coming to you without any corporate sponsorships. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1 or on Instagram at Problem Solver Politics. This is Problem Solver Politics. Smash that like button. We'll see you guys in the next video.